A typical day in Hong Kong suddenly turns into a nightmare when the largest tsunami in recorded history strikes the city. Torrents of water roar through the streets, submerging entire districts in minutes. People run in terror, hoping to find refuge on higher floors or rooftops, but the rushing water overtakes most of them before they can reach safety. Within hours, Hong Kong is transformed into a submerged metropolis, its population decimated, with only a few survivors managing to climb high enough to stay above the flood. 5 years have passed since that cataclysmic day, yet Asha still endures haunting nightmares of the horror she witnessed. Each morning, she forces herself to set aside her fears so she can keep surviving. She has managed to carve out a life in the remains of a tall, crumbling building, hiding her belongings in its scattered debris to protect them from raiders or desperate survivors. Despite living in a broken world, Asha clings to the routines that keep her going. Every morning she heads up to the rooftop, carefully retrieving fresh water from a concealed stash she's maintained since the first days after the tsunami. With a small pot of boiling water, she prepares a simple cup of tea. She turns on her radio, but instead of listening to the automated government broadcast urging survivors to seek a specific shelter, she tunes into a music channel and uses headphones to avoid attracting attention. Afterward, she stretches a thin towel over exposed surfaces to collect morning dew, adding even these few precious drops to her water supply. Living with constant water scarcity, Asha has devised many strategies to gather every last bit she can. Once she finishes collecting dew, Asha counts and measures her water bottles, meticulously tracking how much clean water she has left. The hot, dry weather over the past weeks has increased her anxiety. Without rainfall, her supply dwindles. She makes do with the food she has, slurping instant noodles while reminiscing about the bustling restaurants she used to frequent with her friends. Her heart aches with the memory of fresh dishes and friendly laughter, all of it washed away by the flood. Looking through her binoculars, she surveys her surroundings. Only the tips of once towering skyscrapers poke above the waterline. Every day, Asha checks to see if any of her few remaining neighbors still occupy their buildings. Suddenly, a floating box catches her eye, drifting in the water. She rushes to a different window where she's installed a makeshift harpoon-like rig, a contraption assembled from salvaged machine parts and rope. Asha fires the harpoon at the box and manages to hook it. But as she reels it in, something powerful tugs back from below the surface. Caught by surprise, Asha smashes her arm against the window ledge, wincing in pain. Yet she refuses to give up, struggling against whatever lurks beneath the water until it finally releases the box, sending her tumbling backward. The creature beneath the waves shows its displeasure by whipping up a surge that drenches Asha through the open window. Undeterred, Asha clutches her prize. As she rummages through the soggy contents, she realizes it's mostly garbage, but she's elated to find a small bottle of alcohol, both a disinfectant and a rare luxury in this world. On her way back upstairs, she pauses by a locked door at the end of the corridor. A haunted expression crosses her face, and she quickly moves on, doing her best to ignore any painful memories associated with it. Reaching the rooftop, she pours some of the alcohol on her injured arm to clean the wound before wrapping it in a makeshift bandage. She also takes a swig to dull the throbbing pain. Later that evening, frantic cries echo through the deserted cityscape. Asha peeks out to see 2 boats of hostile scavengers attacking her neighbors in a nearby building. Amid the chaos, she spots a man across the way gazing intently at her own structure. Alarmed, she ducks out of sight, re-emerging just in time to see the boats heading her way. Reacting swiftly, Asha rushes to her apartment and stashes her daily use items in hidden nooks. She sprinkles dirt and debris around, making everything look like it's been long abandoned, then slips behind a faux wall in a closet she's rigged as a hiding spot. Her pulse races as she listens to rough voices entering the apartment. The scavengers rummage loudly through every inch of her home, even flinging open the closet door. Asha holds her breath, heart pounding so loudly she worries they might hear. Suddenly, a gunshot rings out. The group's youngest member fired at a shadow, only to realize it was a false alarm. Their careless shouting and scolding echoes off the peeling walls. Eventually, they leave, convinced there's nothing valuable here. Asha can hardly believe her luck and breaks down in relief. In the stillness, she recalls a happier time before the tsunami, remembering how she had just gained a half-sister and took her out to dinner to bond. That memory helps calm her until the tremors in her hands finally stop. The next day, Asha spots another drifting box and her heart leaps with anticipation. Sorting through the junk inside, she discovers a jar of honey, a sweet treat that feels almost miraculous. Her excitement is shattered, however, when she notices a corpse floating nearby in the water, a grim reminder that danger and death linger everywhere. Later, while Asha is busy in another room, someone quietly sneaks in and rummages through her secret spots, filching some of her supplies. Asha hears faint scuffling but can't pinpoint its source. Eventually, she readies for bed, only to be startled again by a mysterious noise. Armed with a flashlight, she investigates each corner, but sees nothing. To confirm her suspicion, she leaves a bar of soap out in plain sight, hoping her intruder will take the bait. Her plan works. The culprit is revealed to be a small girl, thin and quick, who bolts the instant Asha tries to confront her. The child lashes out with a kick, then dashes away, taking Asha's makeshift lantern and heading toward the same locked door at the end of the corridor. She hesitates upon hearing Asha's footsteps, then flees again. That night, Asha dreams of a time she took her sister shopping for a birthday outfit, their laughter filling the store's changing rooms. She also remembers venting to her best friend about wanting to move out of her parents' place. When she wakes, a wave of melancholy sweeps over her, but she forces herself to focus on the present. Surveying her kitchen, Asha notices a portion of her food supply is missing. Following a trail of wrappers, she finds the little girl dozing in a hidden corner clutching the stolen lantern. Something in Asha's heart softens. She can't bring herself to scold the child. Instead, she goes to prepare breakfast. When the girl stirs, she resumes poking around Asha's hideaways and discovers a fake wall outlet concealing an envelope of photos showing Asha and her sister. Asha walks in at that moment and catches the child red-handed, but the girl darts away again. Preoccupied with replacing the photos, Asha fails to notice that she's dropped one on the ground. Undeterred, Asha cooks a second bowl of instant noodles, recalling the memory of her sister's birthday dinner. She vividly remembers the special gift their parents presented, a family heirloom necklace. Asha had expected to receive it herself, being the older daughter, and her anger at the situation led to a tense family argument. Now, in the present, that same necklace hangs around Asha's neck as she sets the noodles near the girl's spot and quietly leaves. While the child initially ignores the offering, she eventually devours the food. Later, she notices Asha placed a second mattress for her to sleep on, a small gesture of kindness. Come morning, the girl returns the items she stole, seemingly regretful. Asha silently accepts them back, then prepares 2 bowls of noodles for lunch, leaving one as a gift before heading to the rooftop to eat. Not long after, the girl, whose name is still unknown, joins Asha up there and timidly imitates her every action. Their quiet laughter signals a fragile friendship blooming. Asha finds herself reminded of the simple joys she experienced in her past life, before the tsunami swept it all away. That evening, the girl finally agrees to sleep near Asha's bed. After lights out, she starts sobbing softly, trying to hide her tears. Asha gently reassures her that it's natural to feel scared and upset in this harsh reality. The girl reveals she misses her own family terribly, but holds on to hope that she'll reunite with her mother, who is supposedly out there somewhere. She confesses she's been building a raft to leave. Then, she tells Asha her name is Hey Hey. Following a night plagued by nightmares, Asha begins her morning routine with Hey Hey at her side. On the rooftop, they collect dew again. However, a careless moment leads Hey Hey to inadvertently lock them out. Panicking, Asha tries the door but finds it sealed from the inside. Hey Hey surprises her by demonstrating a skill in lockpicking, quickly opening the door. Asha exclaims in relief, though she's also a bit exasperated by the scare. Later, while preparing a meal, Asha notices her heirloom necklace is gone. Just then, the ominous roar of scavenger boats echoes in the corridors. Realizing the raiders are back, Asha motions for Hei Hei to remain silent. They crouch low, waiting for the danger to pass. Eventually, the scavengers leave the vicinity, and Asha breathes easier. She helps Hei Hei wash up, and the young girl blurts out that they should leave together to find a better life. Asha refuses, insisting this crumbling building is still her home, and that any journey beyond these flooded streets will be filled with perils too great to overcome. Suspicion nags at her. She asks if Hei Hei stole her necklace, but the girl indignantly denies it and storms off into another apartment. That evening, Asha eats alone, brooding over her missing necklace. She checks her supplies and discovers some water is gone, only to find Hei Hei used it for washing. The moment stirs a memory of Asha hearing news broadcasts about a powerful typhoon devastating nearby countries. She had fought with her mother, who wanted her to stay home, marry, and conform to a proper life. Asha's frustration built until she stormed out, feeling unappreciated and misunderstood. Asha's nightmares intensify, the images of drowned bodies haunting her sleep. Upon waking, she momentarily mistakes Hei Hei for her own sister. Shaken, she tries to shake off the memory. Deciding to teach Hei Hei more survival tactics, she shows the girl how to toggle the power in certain parts of the building. Naturally curious, Hei Hei asks about the sealed door at the hallway's end. Asha quickly dismisses it, explaining the stench inside is so foul that opening it would make the entire place unlivable. Another flashback to Asha's past shows her mother turning off the TV after a grim report announcing Singapore's complete destruction by rising floodwaters. They argued about a scheduled family gathering that Asha refused to attend, culminating in Asha storming out once more. In the present, Hei Hei finds a radio station broadcasting messages about a government shelter filled with supplies and protection. Excited, she pleads with Asha to travel there. But Asha flatly refuses, convinced the outside world is too dangerous. Angry and feeling slighted, Hei Hei calls Asha bitter and leaves. Asha follows her to another room and discovers that Hei Hei has been assembling a rudimentary raft from scavenged junk. She's even managed to locate a flare gun. Asha immediately snatches the flare gun, confessing she once tried to venture out herself. What she witnessed, lawless violence, monstrous creatures, and endless dangers, forced her to retreat back here. Moved by Asha's confession, Hei Hei softens, and Asha drifts into another memory, her younger sister begging her not to leave home. Asha insisted it was time to move on with her life, promising they would still see each other often. The next morning, the heavens finally open up. Asha and Hei Hei dash upstairs to harvest the rain, placing pots and buckets all around the rooftop to collect as much water as possible. In the course of their frantic efforts, Hei Hei spots Asha's missing necklace on the ground, revealing that it had fallen off due to a broken clasp. Meanwhile, Asha stumbles upon the photograph that slipped out of the envelope days ago, sending her into a wave of grief. Hei Hei gently comforts her, reminding her that they now have each other to rely on. That night, Asha returns to her makeshift bed and feels something beneath her pillow. It's the necklace left there by Hei Hei, who must have found it. The clasp is indeed broken, but the sight of it stirs guilt within Asha for accusing Hei Hei. Resolving to be kinder, she spends the following day quietly constructing a sturdier raft with Hei Hei's help. She recalls the final, terrible argument she had with her family, specifically the moment she learned that her sister was trying to return the necklace by slipping it into Asha's jacket pocket. No sooner had they realized the misunderstanding than news of a colossal tsunami erupted in the streets, sending people running in terror. In the present, Asha decides to give the mended necklace to Hei Hei as a token of trust. Together, they start gathering additional provisions for the raft, filling it with water bottles, food, and whatever else they can scrounge up. Hei Hei, humming along to the radio, accidentally disconnects the headphones, causing music to blare through the apartment. Asha rushes to switch it off, but it's too late. The scavengers' voices echo in the distance. Panic ignites. They hurriedly conceal their personal belongings and Asha shoves Hey behind the hidden closet wall. With space for only one person there, Asha chooses to hide in the dreaded stinky room at the end of the corridor, bracing herself for the inevitable confrontation. Moments later, the Scavengers breach a window, storming inside with more aggression than before. Asha stealthily slips into the stinky room just in time, covering her mouth with a rag to block the putrid odor. Her eyes adjust to the gloom, spotting old family photographs. This is where she grew up, once a place of warmth now turned into a crypt of memories. Outside, the Scavengers systematically tear the apartment apart, smashing anything of value. They soon discover the nearly completed raft and dismantle it in a flurry of destruction. One of them, gagging at the horrible smell, ventures into the stinky room. Lifting a dingy sheet, he recoils at the sight of Asha's parents' decaying corpses. Overwhelmed, he staggers away, retching. Asha, trembling at the memory of that catastrophic night, silently fights off her own nausea. Meanwhile, other Scavengers stumble upon Asha's photos and realize they belong to this building's former inhabitants. The youngest among them notices something off about the closet wall, and together they pry it open, revealing Hey. Panicking, the girl begs them not to hurt her but inadvertently shouts Asha's location. Back in the stinky room, Asha flashes back to the moment she and her sister tried to outrun the tsunami by climbing a building staircase. A desperate mob of people shoved them from behind, and in the chaos her sister tripped and was trampled. Asha, consumed by terror, kept running, only realizing her sister was gone after it was too late. Torn from her reverie by Hey's pleas, Asha is discovered clubbed in the head and dragged out of the room. She awakens to find herself bound while one of the Scavengers leers at her. Before he can take advantage of her, the group's leader calls him away. Hey and most of Asha's remaining supplies have already been hauled into the Scavengers' motorboat, moored just outside the window. Seeing Hey in chains triggers a surge of resolve within Asha. She refuses to fail another girl the way she failed her sister. Straining against the ropes, she manages to loosen them. But the Scavenger holding her yanks back, sending her tumbling into the water with him. Desperate, she grabs a fragment of a broken CD off the debris-strewn surface and slashes the man. Enraged, he tries to drown her, pressing her beneath the water. Using all her strength, Asha maneuvers her arm toward the flare gun in her pocket, firing it into the attacker's chest. He sinks beneath the waves, his screams echoing briefly before vanishing. Hearing the commotion, other Scavengers rush into the flooded corridors, but Asha disappears from sight. The group splits up to search for her. One large man hears her ragged breathing and follows, only to be ensnared by a tripwire. Asha takes advantage of his stumble and strikes him repeatedly with a broken guitar, bringing him down. Seizing his knife, she moves deeper into the apartment, turning on the radio full blast to lure another Scavenger. When he comes to shut it off, she ambushes him, plunging the knife into his side. But her foe is strong, flipping her onto a battered mattress and trying to choke her. Summoning a second burst of adrenaline, Asha reaches for the knife again and stabs him repeatedly until he goes limp. Meanwhile, a female Scavenger hears the scuffle, only to discover a metal can full of smoldering embers. Asha douses her with cooking oil and shoves her into a nearby room, slamming the door and lighting the oil, trapping the Scavenger in a fiery inferno. Hearing his comrades' agonized screams, the leader takes the stairs, but Asha is waiting. She leaps from above, blade in hand. They grapple violently, exchanging strikes. The leader slams Asha against the wall and tries to throttle her, but she grips an exposed lighting tube above her head. Yanking it down causes a sudden blackout. In the darkness, she smashes the leader with the heavy tube, beating him into unconsciousness. When Asha finally flicks her flashlight back on, the Scavenger's youngest member appears in the hallway, firing off shots. Bullets ricochet off the concrete walls. Asha sprints for the rooftop, her attacker close behind. The moment he bursts onto the rooftop, Asha slams the door shut after having removed the tape that once kept it from locking. Panicked, the boy pleads to be let out, claiming he's only a child, but his fearful tone quickly shifts to anger as he fires at the door again. Realizing there's no reasoning with him, Asha leaves him trapped. Now there's only one scavenger left on the boat, watching Hey Hey. Desperate to help her friend, Asha tries to use her harpoon device from the window, but she misses. The scavenger hears the commotion and heads toward the sound. Sensing a chance, Hey Hey shoves him into the water, though he manages to yank her in with him. Asha dives in without hesitation, frantically searching in the murk. Suddenly, the monstrous sea creature surfaces, dragging the scavenger under. His screams vanish in a swirl of froth. Moments later, Asha and Hey Hey resurface, gasping but alive. They swim together to the boat, heave themselves aboard, and restart the engine. Recovered supplies left by the scavengers provide enough food and water for them to attempt finding the elusive shelter. Exhausted but hopeful, Asha carefully navigates the boat away from the devastated cityscape. This time, she refuses to let fear paralyze her. She and Hey Hey hold on to each other, determined to face whatever the future brings. That night, as the pair finally rests on a safe patch of water, Asha closes her eyes. For the first time since the tsunami, she sleeps without being wrenched awake by nightmares. Their journey toward the government shelter has only begun, but Asha's heart, heavy with grief for so long, finally feels a glimmer of peace, and maybe, just maybe, a promise of brighter days ahead.